In this video, I'm going to be talking about Afterthought Heels. What are Afterthought Heels? Well, they're just like they sound. They're heels knit after the rest of the sock has been knit. For these socks, I wanted to maintain the striping in the yarn. So I knitted to where I wanted my heel to be. I placed waste yarn as a placeholder for my heel, and I finished knitting the rest of the sock. And afterwards, I went back and picked up the live stitches from the waste yarn and I knitted a heel. So that's one reason why you would knit an Afterthought heel, if you want to maintain the striping in some self-striping yarn. And so how do you do that? Well, you have to know your row gauge pretty well so that you know exactly where to place your heel. You will knit cuff down, toe up, it doesn't matter. You'll knit to where you want your heel to be, and you will use waste yarn. A contrasting color is best to knit. Usually it's half your sock stitches, but it could be different. You'll knit your heel stitches onto the waste yarn. If you're using one long circular, you would need to slide those stitches back so that you could use your working yarn then to knit across the waste yarn stitches, and then continue knitting the rest of your sock. When you're done, you would pick up the live stitches from below and above the waste yarn by picking up the right legs of each of the stitches below. And then turning it around and doing the same thing on the other side. And then you remove the waste yarn once you have all of your stitches, live stitches, picked up. Sometimes it helps to use a smaller needle at this step to pick up those live stitches. And you will end up with this, with your heel stitches, top and bottom, on needles and the waste yarn removed. And you have a hole for knitting your heel. At this point, you would join your working yarn and knit across. I like to pick up 1 or 2 stitches to bridge the gap, and then knit across the top stitches, and then pick up 1 or 2 stitches at the other side. And you could knit, and these socks have a wedge heel, which is just like a wedge toe. Here's a wedge toe. And then here's my wedge heel. It has a slightly wider wedge to it. Or you could knit short row heels, or you could knit a round heel. Any of those would work. And you end up with an Afterthought heel. So that's Afterthought Heels.